Well, that'll be very difficult to answer because I've worked with over 1,500 writers all across the world, picking up, and every year we are known to churn out almost like a dozen bestsellers. So see, the marketing exercise actually begins from the point where you actually start thinking of an idea today. Today, writers are expected to carry the burden of marketing a lot more than they used to earlier. And the reason is there is much more writing happening from India. There is much more, the reader base is definitely growing, but so is the writer base. There are many more writers that are coming out of India. It's a very, very rich Indian writing scene that is happening. And I think that is the reason why, the burden of having the writer to start off with their marketing right from the point parallelly when they start thinking of an idea is you have to start creating your social media presence. You have to start creating footprints right from when you start writing, because there is a long journey of getting published. There is a long journey of putting that idea into the form of a book. And in that journey, if you can parallelly utilize it to create a reader base for yourself already, it does practically two important things. One, it ensures that you get a good publisher. Half your battle is fought and won if you've got a good publisher to publish your book. Secondly, you're also much more clearer who your target audience is. The thing that we are talking about currently is who is writers need to identify their target audience, but how? How do they ensure who their target audience is? That is the time period, the training period that you all need for understanding who your target audience is. Whether you want to write academic books, whether you want to write non-academic history, politics, policy, whether you want to write a chicklet or fiction or thrillers, like Agatha Christie or Jeffrey Archer. But what you need to understand today, there is a lot more on the shoulders, riding on the shoulders of the writer. And that is where, professionals are brought in who help you structure. There are professionals brought in who help you write, who help channelize your thoughts, who help also develop that footprint and that brand identity for you by the time you come out with your first book. So marketing, as you had mentioned, there are bestsellers that we've created only because there is a lot more awareness of the strengths that a writer has in terms of his own personality, in terms of the kind of expertise and experience that he or she has, and in terms of how, efficient he is in putting all that, packaging all that, and going along with your marketer and your publisher to put it out there for the readers. Right. So that's one important aspect of becoming an effective writer. Right. आप जो पूछना चाह रहे हैं वो ये है कि आपका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन आप कैसे स्ट्रेंथन करें, क्योंकि बगैर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के, देखिए हम लोग ना जब भी कोई एंड बिकॉज आई मूव्ड फ्रॉम अ लार्ज पब्लिशिंग हाउस, एन इंटरनेशनल पब्लिशिंग हाउस, एंड आई स्टार्टेड माय ओन फर्म. एनीबडी हु स्टार्टिंग देयर ओन वेंचर, स्पेशली इन पब्लिशिंग, मैं आपको सजेस्ट करूँगी दो बातों पे सबसे ज़्यादा पैसा और टाइम इन्वेस्ट करें. एक तो कंटेंट पे, जो भी आप प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं वो अच्छा हो, क्वालिटी अच्छी हो, तो एडिटोरियल पे खूब पैसा लगाएं और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पे पैसा लगाएं. अगर आपको मैगज़ीन लॉन्च करने के बाद ये रियलाइज़ हो रहा है कि आप अपनी मैगज़ीन को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर पा रहे, सही जगह नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे, लाइब्रेरीज़ नहीं पहुंचा पा रहे, तो आपको अपने डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नेटवर्क पे काम करना पड़ेगा. देयर आर ट्रेडिशनल डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स जो ना सिर्फ बुक्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करते हैं, दे ऑल्सो हेल्प यू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट मैगज़ीन्स. स्टूडेंट टारगेट कर रहे हैं तो आपको ये ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा वो खरीद के पैसा दे के नहीं आपका कंटेंट लेगा. तो आपको प्राइमरीली यू हैव टू जनरेट इनकम. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि आप फ्री में डिसेमिनेट करेंगे. एक यूथ की आवाज़ करके पोर्टल है, कई सारे यूथ ओरिएंटेड पोर्टल्स हैं जो एग्जैक्टली ये करते हैं. दे गिव आउट कंटेंट फॉर फ्री फॉर स्टूडेंट्स, but they earn money to sustain that model out of the advertisements that they do. I think आपको जैसा मैम बोल रही थी कि किस किस ऑडियंस को आप टारगेट करते हुए किस मीडियम के थ्रू उस कंटेंट को देना चाह रहे हैं, वो आपको वापस से बैठ के थोड़ा सोचना पड़ेगा. जस्ट बाय प्रिंटिंग एंड पुशिंग आउट मैगजीन्स विल नॉट वर्क. Publishers have been from time to time trying to plug in that loophole which allows people to pirate books and put it out for free. But from a marketing perspective, I'll tell you, and this happened with us, with Paulo Coelho when I was working on one of his books. Most of his books come out in the pirated market, right? Most of his books come out. In fact, all of them come out. There was one book which was an 84 release, which was being re-released in India, and the publishers, not just the publisher, we were the publishers, but the distributors were not very confident about it. And the second day of release, that was the quickest that a book came out in the pirated market. And I called my boss and I said, see, it is a success. So it's also a definition of indication of success that your book is being pirated. Very recently, we've had a writer, Abbas, who's written on Babur, a biography on Babur. And that has already come out in the pirated market. So I think when we talk about democratization of content, I think somewhere you have to be prepared that if it is really good, people would want to read it for free. Students have been forever, cyclostyling notes and books and reading of it. But that doesn't make you lesser of a writer. For a writer, number of copies, of course, it does bring in your royalties and revenues, but number of copies should be the last thing, one should be bothered about. There are big, fat, expensive books that Sai writes, J. Sai Deepak writes, and they're expensive books, 800, 900 rupee book, but they sell into lakhs and lakhs of copies. So build your audience, capture your audience by whichever way, and even if it gets pirated, publishers from time to time take their required measures to plug that loophole, but I mean, as a writer, one should not be too bothered about it.